My roommate treated herself like the heroine of a novel and smashed a Porsche 911 parked by the roadside. She said the CEO would definitely be drawn to a poor, but resilient little white flower like her. So, she deliberately arranged to meet the owner at a hotel, constantly saying she wanted to repay him with her body. Unexpectedly, the owner didn't fall in love with her at all. Instead, he demanded that she pay sky-high repair costs. Panicking, she left my personal information with the owner. Everyone mistakenly believed that I was the one who smashed the car. I was accused of being a mistress, slandered, and had my photo edited into a memorial portrait. The car owner's wife came to my door and stabbed me more than a dozen times. I lay on the ground, bleeding to death. In my final moments, I saw my roommate smiling with malicious delight. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my roommate was about to smash a Porsche. Novels always write it this way. The male lead, a playboy, who's weathered countless romances, eventually returns to simplicity and falls in love with the pure and innocent female lead. Madison Blake puckered her lips, looking at the Porsche parked by the roadside with an expression of naive innocence. If I smashed that car, do you think the CEO would fall in love with me? I held my breath and listened to Madison Blake's words, my heart trembling. In my past life, Madison Blake also wanted to smash that Porsche. I kindly advised her, but she thought I was deliberately trying to stop her from marrying up and delaying her search for her true Prince Charming. After she smashed the car, and the owner came looking for her, she instead smeared me, saying I was a gold digger and had deliberately smashed the Porsche just so I could latch onto a rich man. My personal information was leaked, and every day someone would pour paint on me downstairs in the dormitory building, pointing at me and cursing me as a mistress. I suffered terribly, but I couldn't produce evidence to prove my innocence. I could only be pointed at and cursed, and I even dared not go out. During the day, I said sincerely, "Of course, don't novels always say that the meeting between the male lead and the female lead needs a catalyst? This is your catalyst." Upon hearing my words, Madison Blake grew even more excited and glanced at me. "Even someone like you, who's just cannon fodder, can figure it out, so I'm even more at ease. Don't worry, when I marry the CEO, I'll definitely invite you to our wedding banquet. I'm guessing by then the wine I'll treat you to will be so expensive that you won't even be able to afford the cup. I can be magnanimous and let you have a few more tastes." Like in her previous life, she was getting ready to wrap herself up tightly before making a move. According to her, it was to preserve a bit of mystery so she could arouse the male lead's interest. This time, I stopped Madison Blake first and halted her actions. I put on my most sincere expression. "If you smash the car while covering yourself up, what if the CEO mistakes you for someone else?" Madison Blake hesitated. In romance novels, it seemed quite common for CEOs to mistake one person for another. I raised my phone and turned on the recording function, pointing it at her face. "Madison, with me by your side to protect you, there's no way the CEO could mistake you for someone else. Just go with peace of mind." Madison Blake casually picked up a handy brick from the roadside and weighed it in her hand. Then, with a forceful swing, she hurled it at the Porsche, as expected of a luxury car. Even after being struck by a brick, it only left a few chips in the car window. "Madison, isn't that enough? What if the owner asks you to pay for it?" I held up my phone and pretended to be anxious as I tried to stop her. Madison Blake rolled her eyes impatiently when she heard what I said. Getting the male lead to make the female lead pay compensation was just him saying it for fun. The two of them were only having a simple scuffle. "Do you even understand?" Spurred on by my words, she applied even more force. With her hands, the car window immediately shattered into a web of cracks. The rearview mirror was smashed off, and even the hood was dented in by more than half. A perfectly good car now looked as though it had been dragged out of a junkyard, completely unrecognizable. After smashing it to her heart's content, Madison Blake even made sure to choose a flattering angle for herself, collapsing in front of the car and sobbing pitifully after crying for a while. She rushed straight up to the camera gazed up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, revealing a pair of beautiful, pitiful eyes, and said in a soft, coquettish voice, "Maddie didn't mean it. I got scolded by the teacher in class today, and I'm so upset. Woo woo. I'm going to turn into a silly little kitty. The big brother driving a Porsche surely wouldn't hold it against Maddie. Right." I was so shocked by Madison Blake's words that I almost got goosebumps all over, and nearly dropped my phone. However, everything she did was clearly recorded on my phone. After I got back to school, I went from dorm to dorm, spreading Madison Blake's story to every room. Madison Blake said she's going to marry into a wealthy family. Yeah. She even smashed a Porsche on the road on purpose. She said that way she'd have a chance to meet the male lead. Don't dismiss it, just because it sounds unbelievable. What if she really is the female lead in a novel? Perhaps, because the incident was so bizarre, the news had almost spread to every corner of the school. Even Madison Blake's car-smashing stunt had been embellished into dozens of different versions. Quite a few people came over and tried to sound me out. Was it because Madison Blake was drunk? Or was she mentally unwell at the time, which led her to accidentally smash the Porsche? I feigned surprise and replied righteously, "How could that be? Madison Blake was perfectly lucid at the time." She also said that, when she married into a wealthy family, she'd treat us to wedding wine. Even talked about how the drink they'd treat us to then would be something we'd never be able to afford in our entire lives. Madison Blake had a pure, innocent look, and there were usually plenty of boys chasing her. But in order to save her first love for the legendary CEO, she had never dated anyone. She also had some level of popularity at school, and her reputation was excellent. Back then, everyone thought she was virtuous and self-respecting, and wouldn't be capable of doing something like smashing a car. The surveillance footage for the stretch of road where the car was smashed happened to break again, and the only people who passed by there were me and Madison Blake. So, she pinned everything on me. When I confronted her, she put on a pitiful look and hurriedly waved her hands, saying she had never done anything like that. She even hinted, deliberately or not, that I had smashed someone else's car just to marry into a wealthy family and latch onto a rich man. I was saddled with an astronomical debt, and people even called me a gold digger and a mistress. I tried desperately to explain that I hadn't done those things, but no one was willing to believe me. Even on the verge of death, she was still leaned close to my ear and laughed gleefully. The cannon fodder supporting female character is supposed to serve the female lead. Anyway, so, just obediently be my stepping stone into a wealthy family. In this life, I'll help Madison Blake get some proper publicity. I deliberately took a frontal screenshot of Madison Blake smashing the car from my phone recording and posted it on my Moments. Along with the post, I wrote, "Maddie was so upset after being scolded that she accidentally smashed a Porsche. She said the owner wouldn't hold it against her because she's so pitiful. So, let's first wish Maddie and owner a happy ending." As the first person to witness Madison Blake smashing the car, I was already under a lot of attention. After suddenly posting something like this on WeChat Moments, it spread at a terrifying speed. Someone immediately left a comment below, and she's already talking about a happy ending with the owner. What if the owner has a wife? Wouldn't she be the mistress? If the car owner's wife comes knocking on her door, wouldn't she be done for? Crazy woman. Stay away from me. As I looked at the comment after comment in my Moments feed, I silently gave them a thumbs up in my heart. For the rest of her life, Madison Blake would never again be able to hide the fact that she had smashed the car with her own hands. Even if she tried to smear me again, countless people would stand up to refute her for me. But it didn't take long before a reply from Madison Blake appeared underneath, and it was getting quite a bit of attention. "Claire, weren't you also smashing the car with me that day? Why did you post on WeChat Moments only about my part?" My heart tightened. Had Madison Blake realized the situation had blown up? Or was she afraid that the car owner really had a wife, and her dream of marrying a CEO would be shattered? So, she wanted to drag me into it, too. Just as I was about to argue back in WeChat Moments, Madison Blake pushed the door open and walked straight into the dorm. She affectionately hooked her arm around mine and blinked as she said, "Claire, I've only just realized that you keep bringing up the car smashing incident. Why don't you talk about yourself for a change?" I awkwardly pulled my arm out of Madison Blake's embrace. "What do I have to talk about? Smashing the car that day was clearly something the two of us did together," Madison Blake said, with complete confidence, as if it were an established fact. I immediately stood up to refute her, my tone gradually turning cold. "Madison, are you remembering this wrong? You were the only one who smashed the car. I was just standing to the side recording it. How could I have had a free hand to help you smash the car?" Madison Blake pouted aggrievedly. "Claire, what are you talking about? We're best friends. Of course, we smashed the car together. Usually, there's always a doctor friend around a CEO, and I'm willing to let you have that doctor friend. By then, if you've also married into a wealthy family, you'll have to thank me properly." I frowned, not wanting to get tangled up with Madison Blake any further, and immediately reached for my phone to clear things up. But Madison Blake got there first, bumping my arm with her shoulder. My arm slammed hard into the iron frame beside the bed, and in the pain, I let go. Click! The phone rolled onto the floor, and the screen instantly shattered into a spiderweb of cracks. Madison Blake stomped hard on the phone with her foot, and only after she saw that the phone was completely damaged and unusable did she lift her foot. My expression darkened as I directly shoved Madison Blake away. "You're crazy. You broke my phone. What am I supposed to use now?" "Claire, it was just a joke. You wouldn't be this petty, would you? I did it for your own good." Madison Blake's lips curved into a smile as she coquettishly tugged at my hand and shook it back and forth. "We're both about to marry into wealthy families. Do you really still care about this? For a crappy phone like this, I can have my husband buy you 100. Looking at the phone that had already been smashed beyond use, she said smugly, "Most importantly, the video in your phone is gone, and everyone will think we smashed the car together. Don't worry, I won't leave you." At first, I was a little scared smashing the car by myself, but now that you're here, with me, I'm not worried at all. I clenched my fist. Madison Blake had always thought she was the heroine of a novel, and it was one thing to daydream every day about a domineering CEO falling in love with her, even though she usually hurled sarcasm and mockery at me in the dorm. I had never bothered to hold it against her, but after falsely accusing me in her previous life, she didn't even have the slightest sense of guilt. Instead, she scolded me with righteous indignation. The only difference between me and the female lead in the novel is my background. Why are you so lucky getting money from your parents every day, without having to work, while I have to split every penny and have to spend? I see you smash the car. So what? Can you prove me wrong? No one will believe you. That car's compensation is several million. You can't pay it off, and neither can your parents. I just want to drag your whole family down with me, just like last time." Madison Blake was worried that things would blow up, so she specifically came to make me take the blame and drag me down into the mire with her. But this time she miscalculated. On the day after she smashed the car, as soon as I got back to the dorm, I made a backup of that video. Let Madison Blake bear the consequences of the trouble she caused herself these past few days. Madison Blake had been dreaming happily every day, vowing to leave the CEO with a better first impression. She had layered so much skincare product on her face that it was impossible to tell how many coats she had applied. In a professional class, Madison Blake openly put on a face mask at her desk. The class was taught by an old teacher, who was usually very strict. He launched into Madison Blake with a barrage of criticism, thinking she was being disrespectful to the class. If Madison Blake had just said a few nice words and apologized to the teacher, that would have been the end of it. But instead, Madison Blake started cursing back at the teacher. She let out a cold snort. "What's it to you if I put on a face mask? My husband likes that I'm his little canary, looking pretty every day. Is it any of your business? Old witch, I've long had it out for you. Do you know who my husband is? He can crush you to death with a flick of his hand. Know what's good for you. and apologize to me right now." The teacher was speechless. The students were stunned, never expecting Madison Blake to have gone this far off the deep end. Suddenly, there was a knock at the classroom door. The counselor looked grim and called Madison Blake's name. "Madison Blake, come out with me for a moment." Madison Blake took off the facial mask from her face, her expression arrogant, like a peacock displaying its feathers, and walked out of the classroom. With her chest out, she deliberately walked past the teacher and said provocatively, "Old hag, my husband is here to see me. Just wait to publicly apologize to me, and then get fired." Madison Blake went next door, and, after not too long, a muffled, sniffly sound of crying seemed to drift over. "I didn't do it. I really didn't mean to. How could I possibly afford to pay so much money? Brother, can you please take pity on me and give me some more time?" According to the student leaders, who were there at the time, the Porsche owner, who came to the door, was fair-skinned and clean-cut, with an excellent appearance in both manner and bearing. He looked every bit like the male lead of a romance novel. The moment Madison Blake came in and saw the owner, her eyes lit up at once. Swaying her waist, she moved in to throw herself at him as if she had truly taken him for her destined prince. But the owner was dying to tear Madison Blake apart with his own hands, let alone fall genuinely in love with her. He directly slapped Madison Blake in the face on the spot and told her she had 1 week to come up with 3 million yuan in compensation. After hearing that, I just burst out laughing. That Porsche owner wasn't a CEO at all. He was just a kept boy supported by a rich woman. In the end, no one knew what methods he used to marry her. He had no real say at home, and managing to sweet-talk the rich woman into letting him drive a Porsche was already quite impressive. That Porsche belonged to the rich woman, too. Now that the Porsche was wrecked, he had no way at all to go home and explain it to her. He could barely protect himself. It would already be surprising if he didn't tear Madison Blake apart on the spot. How could he possibly fall for Madison Blake, who has nothing to her name? The counselor suddenly knocked on the door and walked into the classroom once again, looking at me with a complicated expression. "Come out with me for a moment." I picked up my laptop and followed the dean into a conference room. As soon as we entered, Madison Blake's voice came through from outside, sounding very agitated. "Sir, please believe me. The person who smashed the car really wasn't me. It was my roommate. She just wanted to hook up with a rich guy, so she smashed that car. I only went out with her that day. The car has nothing to do with me." After saying that, Madison Blake lowered her head again and cast a shy glance at the car owner. I had already warned my roommate that 2 people should be together out of true love. How could they use such crooked methods? But she just wouldn't listen. She stretched her slender, delicate neck forward slightly, her voice even faintly tinged with tears. "I really didn't do it on purpose. Please don't go after my roommate. I'm willing to help her bear it together." I stood by in astonishment, never expecting Madison Blake to be so capable of turning black into white. In just a few short sentences, she had cast herself as a pitiful little white flower, kind and brave. Not only did she refuse to submit to the powerful, she even dared to take the blame for the roommate who smashed the car. The car owner was so restless that he slammed his hand hard on the table in front of him. "I don't give a damn which one of you smashed the car. Pay me the money. I only want the money." Seeing me enter, Madison Blake hurried over to grab my hand, desperately winking at me. "Claire, just admit it. You smashed the car yourself." Apologizing now and turning back, "While you still can isn't too late," she leaned close to my ear and said, "The female lead and the male lead always need the supporting female character to pave the way. Don't worry. After I marry the CEO, I'll get you out." I laughed in anger and shoved Madison Blake hard away from me. "Are you crazy? I didn't smash the car, so why would I need to turn back and repent?" Madison Blake was knocked to the ground, looking heartbroken. She forcefully squeezed out 2 tears, looking every bit like a classic little green tea girl. Tears quickly welled up in her eyes, as if she had suffered some enormous grievance, and her voice turned choked with sobs. Saw the. Sir, I can't even persuade my roommate. I'm just useless. If I were a little more capable, I wouldn't be unable to help at all. The counselor quickly stepped forward to help Madison Blake up, looking at me with a somewhat displeased expression. If a student has done something wrong, she should step forward and admit it. Don't dump everything on your classmates. Your classmates risked being slandered by you, yet still insisted on speaking up for you. And you remain indifferent. Is that because you have no conscience? I laughed in anger. Some students. This must be referring to me by name. Right. In my previous life, when I was falsely accused, I went straight to the counselor. But the counselor had clashed with me before. And besides, he was already on good terms with Madison Blake. He only told me that the school would investigate, but behind the scenes, he handled the matter coldly. I believed the truth would clear my name, and that the innocent needed no defense. But in the end, what I received was a notice of automatic withdrawal from school issued by him. He said the school could not tolerate someone of such corrupt moral character as me, and told me to withdraw voluntarily, never to bring disgrace on the school again. I argued with him on the spot, but missed the best opportunity to explain myself, causing everyone to think that I was the one who smashed that car. I was labeled a mistress and had my portrait edited into a memorial photo. The car owner's wife came toward me, holding a knife, trying to kill me. In my panic, I went to find the counselor, but he shut the door right in my face and refused to open it no matter how hard I knocked. In the end, I was stabbed to death at the doorway, and fearing it would damage the school's reputation, he only told the outside world that I had accidentally fallen from the building myself. Since everyone's going to keep arguing here, then we might as well just call the police. As soon as I spoke, I was immediately interrupted by the counselor. With a look of disapproval, he said, "If something can be resolved on campus, then don't call the police. I think the facts are already very clear. It's just that certain students have no sense of propriety and still expect their roommates to cover for them. If you still have even a shred of shame, then properly apologize to your classmate and the car owner. Don't do things that make trouble for everyone." Madison Blake gave me a smug look. The only evidence proving that the person who smashed the car was her is on my phone, and my phone has already been crushed by her. Now she no longer has anything to worry about, and now she has the counselor backing her up, who can help her issue an internal school statement proving that the news I spread earlier about her smashing the car was all false information I deliberately circulated. She herself will be completely safe and sound, and I will once again be nailed to the pillar of shame, despised by everyone. But times have changed now. I let out a cold laugh and dialed the police. Whether I'm slandering her or not, the police will decide when they get here. But without any basis, you're slandering a student at will. Advisor, your career is probably about to be over. Right. The police arrived at the school shortly after. The investigation result held almost no suspense. My computer has the full video of Madison Blake smashing the car from beginning to end. The video clearly showed that I had only held up my phone to record and had never touched the car. The police played this video in front of Madison Blake. Madison Blake widened her eyes and immediately lunged toward the computer, ready to smash it to the ground. Several police officers couldn't hold her down, and it wasn't until they warned her that deliberately destroying evidence was illegal that she finally quieted down. How is that possible? How could the video be in your hands? It was all that bitch. She framed me. She did it on purpose. If she hadn't been egging me on from the side, how could I have smashed the car? I put my hands on my hips, looking perfectly calm. You say I egged you on. Do you have any evidence? I was the one filming. But how could I be foolish enough to record my own voice? Not only did I not egg Madison Blake on, I even tried to persuade her during the car smashing and told her to stop. But Madison Blake was smashing away in a frenzy, and my warning only became a catalyst for her, making her even more excited as she smashed the car. I had originally thought she'd stop after smashing the windows, but in the end, she smashed every part of the car. There were cameras there, had to be. Madison Blake was on the verge of losing her mind, and finally remembered the surveillance cameras. Go check the surveillance at the intersection. She said a few things to me before she smashed the car, and from that moment on, she was provoking me to do it. She's not innocent. She has to bear responsibility with me. But she forgot that the surveillance at the intersection had already gone offline. The only thing left that could recreate the scene from that time was the precious video I had recorded. When Madison Blake walked out of the police station, her steps were unsteady. Her family was just an ordinary one. For her to raise 3 million yuan in 1 week, even if she went to sell a kidney, she still wouldn't be able to scrape together enough. Before I left, I kindly reminded her once, it's not like there's no way at all right now. The car belongs to the owner. How much to pay, and how to pay it, won't it all ultimately be up to the owner to decide? Hope immediately lit up in Madison Blake's eyes. She muttered to herself, right, if I can make him fall in love with me, then I won't have to pay back the money. I'm the female lead of a novel, and he's so handsome and so rich. He's basically a CEO. Now that we've already met, how could we ever be separated? Madison Blake desperately chased after the car owner, nearly losing one of her shoes as she ran, just like the resilient heroine in a novel who has suffered hardships but keeps going. I want to add you on WeChat. I returned to school, and after 2 days of deliberation, I wrote a letter and put it in the principal's mailbox. In the letter, I filed a real name report accusing the counselor of showing favoritism, engaging in corruption, protecting Madison Blake, publicly defaming me, and spreading rumors about me. But in the end, this letter never made it to the principal's office. It was intercepted by the counselor halfway there. He called me to the office and slammed the letter down right in front of me, looking utterly pained and dismayed. What are you trying to do? You're so young, and yet you refuse to do the right thing. Why insist on doing something so harmful to unity at such a young age? And already so scheming. Who would dare marry you in the future? Unexpectedly, Madison Blake was also in the office. She looked infinitely better than she had last night. Her complexion was rosy, and she didn't seem worried at all about the debt hanging over her head. She even had the energy to mock me coldly. Who knows? I see you often bringing things to that old man downstairs. For all you know, you've already found yourself some rich old geezer, sleeping with a rich old man. Wonder if you can live with yourself, and whether you'd be letting your parents down. If I ever did something so shameless, I would have jumped off a building long ago. Is that so? I said in confusion. No matter how you look at it, shouldn't the one who tried to latch onto a rich guy and failed, only to end up owing 3 million in debt, be the one more likely to jump off a building? Instead of hurrying to think about how to pay off the debt you owe, you're standing here spouting sarcastic remarks at me. I put away the letters in front of me and gave them a little wave at the counselor. It doesn't matter that you intercepted the letter halfway. Tomorrow, I'll go to the principal's office myself and explain exactly how the two of you have been bullying me. I have a witness and video evidence from that day. When the time comes, you and Madison Blake won't be able to escape. Not one of you. Seeing the two of them looking grim and flushed a deep red, I felt nothing but a surge of satisfaction. Just as I turned around and was about to leave, Madison Blake suddenly shouted at me. Vicious supporting female character. I won't let you get your way. He and I have already slept together, and he's about to marry me into the family. You'll get your comeuppance. My footing wavered, and I nearly fell. I barely held myself together, doing my best not to burst out laughing. In my previous life, Madison Blake merely falsely accused me of sending the car owner a message about going to a hotel together, and his wife came to my door and stabbed me more than a dozen times this time. Madison Blake had already become intimately involved with the car owner. Her fate would surely be tens of millions of times worse than mine. I was resting in the dorm when the door was suddenly yanked open hard. Madison Blake rushed in wearing disheveled clothes, her hair in disarray, with suggestive marks still on her body. She shouted loudly, "Close the door! Hurry! And close the door! There's a lunatic chasing me behind the door." I pretended not to hear clearly and asked loudly, "What? What did you say? I can't hear you." "Close the door," I said. "Close the door." As I pulled the door open, I deliberately stood in the doorway and said, "Madison, it's broad daylight. Why are you locking the door? Is there a ghost chasing you behind it?" Madison Blake was so angry her teeth itched. But she had no time to settle scores with me now. She quickly scrambled into the wardrobe, not daring to make a sound. A woman, with disheveled hair and a knife still in her hand, rushed into the dormitory, her face dark and grim, like a demon crawling out of hell. I knew her. She was the wealthy wife of that car owner in my previous life. She had caught up to me and stabbed me more than 10 times in a row, leaving me to die in a pool of blood, seeing that I was the only one in the dorm. She stared at me and demanded, "Where's that bitch who seduced my husband? How dare you seduce my husband? Are you tired of living?" "I don't know, but my roommate just went back into the dorm room," I replied. I stopped at the right moment and watched helplessly as she rushed into the dormitory and began frantically searching under the bed, in the blankets, in the wardrobe. Not a single place was left unchecked. I seized the chance to run out of the dormitory and blend into the classmates standing far out on the periphery, there to watch the drama unfold. Before long, Madison Blake was found. She was dragged out from inside a cabinet, and the clothes on her body were also ripped off and fell to the floor. Clear slaps rang out, and her face swelled up immediately, looking like a pig's head. The car owner's wife still felt it wasn't enough to vent her anger, and simply grabbed the knife beside her. Shrill, chaotic cries could be heard coming from the dormitory from far away. Eerie and unsettling, the classmates around me pulled me over and started asking all sorts of questions. I feigned surprise and only said half of what I meant. That car owner asked Madison Blake to pay $3 million within a week. How could a family like ours possibly afford that? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, Madison said something about as long as the car owner falls in love with her, that's enough. But that car owner seems to have a wife. Veiled words tend to arouse other people's interest even more. And, before long, people started connecting what I had said. The labels of destroying someone else's family and deliberately selling yourself were immediately slapped onto Madison Blake. Some busybodies even compiled Madison Blake's story into a PDF and then posted it online. The PDF quickly spread across the internet, and in an instant Madison Blake became a trending figure. In my previous life, Madison Blake did exactly this to me. With just a few vague, suggestive words, she sent me plummeting into the abyss, leaving me branded as a homewrecker even. After my death, I watched my classmates excitedly discussing it, and my fingertips began to tremble. In this life, it was time for her to have a taste of the bitter consequences words could bring. This was what she had personally handed me in my past life. Madison Blake was chased and slashed by the car owner's wife, running all the way from the dormitory to the counselor's office. The counselor opened the door and let her hide inside, but there wasn't time to close it. Both of them were chased and slashed with a knife by the car owner's wife. I heard they were both sent to the hospital. No one knows how Madison Blake begged for mercy, but she actually managed to get the car owner's wife to spare her and leave her a way to live. As for the counselor, who sheltered her, after he was discharged from the hospital, specialized personnel will assess him and determine the disciplinary outcome. I thought everything had finally settled, as long as Madison Blake didn't come looking for trouble with me again. I wouldn't retaliate either. Given a second chance at life, I understood more clearly how precious life was. I didn't want to get caught up in revenge. I just wanted to truly experience life. So, early that morning, I submitted the paperwork to change dorm rooms at school, but I hadn't expected Madison Blake to come back even earlier than I had anticipated. She limped into the dorm room, fury brewing in her eyes. After seeing me, she snorted coldly, satisfied now. "It's all because of you that I accidentally smashed that Porsche. If it weren't for you, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have been hurt by that crazy woman at all. I'm the female lead of a novel. I should be being well taken care of by the CEO in a big villa. The one who should have been slashed by that crazy woman was you," I said sarcastically. "Accidentally? Classmate, are you saying that you accidentally found a brick on the road then accidentally picked out a Porsche from the cars on the street, and then accidentally smashed the brick onto it, you'd better hurry up and raise the money. Female lead of the novel. If you can't pay it back, you'll end up with a criminal record. As far as I remember, I don't think any male lead would want a little canary with a record, would they? Madison Blake's face flushed red at my words. She covered the wound on her waist and abdomen, unable to stop gasping. When she saw the luggage in my hand, she got even angrier and shouted, "What are you doing with your luggage? You're not allowed to leave. You got me into this mess. What gives you the right to go? With a roommate like you. If I don't run now, am I supposed to stay here and be attacked the way you were?" I pretended to think for a moment, then said in realization, "But I probably won't get hacked to death. After all, I haven't done anything as despicable as destroying someone else's family." I don't know exactly what I said that set off Madison Blake's sensitive nerves again, but she immediately became tense and even rushed over to cling tightly to my suitcase. I found the chat records on my phone and showed them to Madison Blake. I submitted my room change request first thing in the morning. It's been approved by the school, so even if you disagree, it won't matter. Madison Blake somehow suddenly knelt down at my feet, grabbed my hand, and started speaking haltingly. "Claire, I know I really did something wrong, but I've already learned my lesson." She gripped my hand a little tighter, and tears even welled up in her eyes. "I just got back from the hospital, and my family can't make it over right away. Could you stay and take care of me? I know you're a good person. Could you help me one more time? You wouldn't refuse even such a small request, would you? I know you're not that petty." I watched Madison Blake's expression change so quickly that I could barely react. How could one person cycle through so many expressions in such a short time? Taking advantage of the moment, she opened the dorm room door and started wailing at the doorway. "Claire, I'm begging you. Please let me go. If you move out of the dorm, too, I'll have no way to survive. The other two roommates aren't familiar with me, and they definitely won't help me. The only person willing to take care of me now is you." "Claire." Madison was wearing a white dress, kneeling beside me, with bandages she hadn't had time to remove after just being discharged from the hospital. Looking pitiable and helpless, people emerged in twos and threes in the hallway, pointing and whispering at Madison Blake, who was kneeling on the floor. What happened? Why did she suddenly kneel down? She must have just come back from the hospital, with no one taking care of her like this. That's really miserable. They're all in the same dorm. Madison Blake is down on her knees. Why isn't she reacting at all? Although Madison Blake was at fault, she had already humbled herself by kneeling in front of me. If I changed dorm rooms directly, I might be labeled as cold-hearted. "Okay, if you want me to stay with you, then I'll stay with you." I took a deep breath and, carrying my suitcase, stepped back into the room. The moment the dormitory door closed, Madison Blake visibly let out a sigh of relief. She held my hand and swayed it back and forth. "Claire, I knew you treated me best. If it weren't for you, I really wouldn't know what to do." I was sleeping in the middle of the night when I suddenly noticed a silhouette standing in front of me, then quickly pressing down on me. The back of my head suddenly slammed against the bedboard, and a surge of sharp pain hit me. I tried to cry out for help, but my mouth and nose were immediately covered. Then I heard Madison Blake's voice coming from far away. "She's my roommate, and her family is rich. Not only can you sell her, you can also extort a fortune from her family." A sharp knife was pressed against my throat. A man warned me not to speak, then took out a length of hemp rope and tightly bound my limbs. In order to pay off the debt on the Porsche, Madison Blake actually sold me to settle it. I was so furious my teeth itched. I desperately wanted to shout, but my voice remained trapped in my throat. A man yanked me off the bed and kicked me in the hollow of my waist. A wave of intense pain shot through me, and I curled up from the agony. As my consciousness blurred, I vaguely thought, if Madison Blake had stayed farther away from me and obediently paid back what she owed, maybe she would still have a chance at turning her life around. But unfortunately, she refused to understand the situation. In the blink of an eye, I had already been rescued by the police and sent to the hospital. As soon as I sensed someone had entered the dormitory, I called the police first. My desperate struggle was only to buy time for the police to arrive. An outsider entered the campus and assaulted a female student. The nature of this case was extremely serious, and the police attached great importance to it. It didn't take long for the police to uncover everything. Madison Blake was forced to repay a debt, but she had no money, so she set her sights on me. She took money from a few thugs and sold me to them. Before they even had time to take me away, they were caught red-handed by the police. I refused to accept any settlement and hired the best lawyer, with money to fight the case. Madison Blake was sent to prison. At that point, her dream of being the heroine of a novel was completely shattered. The day she was thrown into prison, she was still shouting that she was the heroine of a novel, and that she would definitely see a turnaround in prison, using her husband's influence to get out again. She even said that she would make both me and the police pay the price. I heard that she angered the prison guards and was locked up with some vicious hardened criminals. I wonder whether her dream of being the heroine of a novel can still go on. After taking a few slaps, as for the counselor, after a school meeting, it was decided to revoke his position and expel him from the school. He would never again have the chance to deliberately target a student he didn't like. Everything that happened gradually drifted away from me, and I would still have an even better future ahead. Madison Blake's life had ended in prison, while my life had only just begun. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When my grandfather passed away, he left behind $10 billion in cash and a company, giving my sister and me a choice. In our previous life, my sister quickly chose the $10 billion. Later, she became addicted to material pleasures, lived a degenerate life, and eventually fell into massive high-interest debt. Meanwhile, I used smart investments to grow the company and became a billionaire. My sister regretted it and tried to drag me to death with her when she was being chased by debt collectors. When we woke up again, we had returned to the moment our grandfather left us his inheritance. This time, my sister chose the company without hesitation. She looked at me triumphantly. "Sister, I won't make the wrong choice this time. You are destined to be trampled under my feet." I was surprised. Isn't financial freedom more liberating than managing a company? In the final moments of his life, Grandpa summoned my sister and me to his bedside, his eyes gleaming with hope for our future. He slowly pulled 2 gift contracts from the drawer, one for the Hartwell Group and the other for $10 billion in cash. Before I could even process it, my sister had already snatched the company contract and signed her name without hesitation. Her sudden move made me realize that she, too, had returned to this critical moment. In her previous life, she had chosen the money and ultimately fallen into depravity. But in this life, she chose responsibility and challenge. My younger sister smiled at me. "Sister, I know your spending habits. This time, you can take the $10 billion and enjoy life. I will shoulder the responsibility of the Hartwell family." Her words seemed to reveal a selfless consideration for me, but her hypocritical smile couldn't conceal the inner satisfaction. I felt no anger at all. Instead, I secretly rejoiced in my heart. In my previous life, I missed the golden era of live streaming e-commerce due to a lack of startup capital, and I regretted it until the day I died. Now, with this money, my plan can finally be put into action. Shortly after Grandpa passed away peacefully, both my sister and I received our share of the inheritance. She took over the company, while I received $10 billion in cash. "Sis, you know what?" my sister boasted to me triumphantly. "The Hartwell Group is far more than that. $10 billion. Just wait and see. I'm about to make history and become the next female billionaire." Her eyes sparkled with ambition and confidence. "And what's more, when I become a billionaire, I'll make sure the national heartthrob you like grovels at my feet." Her words were filled with disdain and provocation toward me. Faced with her smug and overconfident demeanor, I said nothing. I didn't tell her that what the heartthrob valued wasn't billionaire status. What's more, the Hartwell Group may appear glamorous on the surface, but beneath it all, there are undercurrents and dangers lurking everywhere. It's not as ideal as one might imagine. In my past life, I exhausted almost all my efforts and made countless sacrifices to save the Hartwell Group. I drank, with big shots until I developed a stomach perforation. Played golf, with clients even, when I had a high fever of 40 degrees Celsius, and even sacrificed my dignity, stalking people like a paparazzo. I smiled and said, "I hope everything goes as you wish." Upon hearing my words, my sister burst into laughter. "Sister, oh sister, do you really think I can't tell? You're just jealous, aren't you? I don't have time to waste with her. I need to focus on my career." In my previous life, when my best friend showed me the appeal of live streaming sales, I simply didn't have much liquid capital on hand. Even if I had a few million in savings, I would have used it first to save the company. You know, looking at the long string of numbers in my bank account, my heart filled with warmth and excitement. The regrets of my past life could finally be made up for in this one. I didn't waste any time and immediately began searching for a suitable property. When my best friend Nora learned that I wanted to invest in live stream sales, she immediately recommended a property. It was an unfinished building that looked shabby and dilapidated, but she said the price was too tempting to resist. Although this place doesn't look great, the money we save can be fully used to purchase advanced live streaming equipment. I went to check out the site and also thought it was a good deal. In my previous life, Nora bought 2 units in this very place and ended up making tens of millions in profit. Although it looks shabby from the outside, it conceals immense wealth inside. Standing in front of those unfinished buildings, with the wind blowing through the desolate street, I had already made up my mind. Nora's voice reached my ears. "Whether you buy or not, I've already decided to buy here." Well, who told me I don't have enough funds? Unlike you, with 10 billion in hand, you can consider better properties. I interrupted her. "You don't need to buy any more. I'll give you 2 units. She looked at me in disbelief. "What?" I gazed up at the unfinished building. Before me, I planned to buy the entire building. "Come work with me." Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" I laughed. "I am. I'd be a dog if I lied to you." After all, in her previous life, she was a talent at the forefront of live streaming sales, destined to become a top-tier technical expert. All right. You're simply too generous. From now on, you're my rich daddy. I am stickin' with you. Soon, my new property was under renovation, with Nora overseeing the process. I, on the other hand, started running around the market again, searching for high-performance filming equipment. For a while, I spent money at a staggering pace, even faster than my sister had in her previous life. Before long, I had invested 2 billion. Just after I transferred 20 million from my card, I received a call from my parents asking me to come home for a meal. Their tone didn't sound very pleasant. When I pushed the door open, my sister was lying on the sofa eating strawberries, looking extremely pleased. When I entered, a smug and disdainful smile curled at the corners of her lips. "I heard you spend 50 million on a dilapidated, unfinished building." I frowned faintly. Indeed, from her perspective, this investment seemed like a joke. After all, in our previous life, that building remained unfinished until the day we died. But in reality, she doesn't understand the foresight and courage required for commercial investment. In her eyes, only what is visible and tangible can be considered wealth. But why would I ever tell her all this, seeing that I didn't speak? My sister seemed even more pleased with herself. "I also heard that you're planning to buy that ridiculously expensive camera." "Huh. With your mediocre photography skills, how dare you spend so much on such expensive equipment? It's just a complete waste of money. At the rate you're spending money now." She paused and gave me a mocking glance. "Be careful, or you might end up as a street beggar. If you become a beggar, don't expect any help from me." I said calmly, "Don't worry, I won't come to you. I have my parents." I casually reached for a strawberry to eat. She suddenly jumped up from the sofa, holding a fruit platter, and shouted downstairs to our parents, "Dad! Mom! Look! Sister is going to hit me." I was just kindly advising sister to spend less money. Although the 10 billion was given to my sister by grandpa, it also represents the face of our Hartwell family. But sister said that even if she spends it all, mom and dad will cover for her. She really hasn't changed at all, always pretending to be the victim in front of our parents to complain about me. Our parents were clearly swayed by her words. They turned to me and asked, "Your sister meant well. How could you lay a hand on her?" I didn't argue, but picked up the remote control, turned on the TV, and quickly pulled up the surveillance footage from the living room. The image clearly shows that at that moment, I was merely reaching for a strawberry from the fruit plate, with no aggressive intent whatsoever. My sister didn't expect me to check the surveillance footage so decisively. She defended herself, with feigned grievance, saying, "I thought my sister was going to hit me, especially since she doesn't like what I say. If she didn't hit me, why bother checking the surveillance footage?" She even argued unreasonably. "Even if you were right this time, the fact that you waste money recklessly can't be denied. Just look at that unfinished building you bought, and that ridiculously expensive camera. What on earth do you need them for?" She seemed to be asking our parents to discipline me. I simply asked my parents calmly, "Don't I have the right to use the 10 billion that grandpa left me? We heard you bought a stalled construction project, and we're genuinely concerned." Dad began slowly. "After all, grandpa left you that money hoping you could achieve something with it, not for you to squander it on unnecessary things. I knew that until I could prove myself, my parents' worries would inevitably persist." I lowered my head and said, "I understand. I will use the remaining money carefully," seeing that I seemed to have admitted my mistake. My sister gave me a smug glance. Then she went on, and on about her achievements. "Mom and Dad, did you know I negotiated a deal with Mr. Victor and purchased a large amount of new equipment for the group at a low price? Experts estimate that the market value of the Hartwell Group is about to double." I frowned slightly at the name. Victor had also approached me to discuss cooperation, but, after my investigation, I found that the batch of equipment had quality issues, so I refused him. I never expected him to hold a grudge and cause trouble for me, and preventing me from finding alternative equipment, which led to me being forced to drink until I was hospitalized with a stomach perforation. Although I didn't want to deal with my sister, the Hartwell Group was, after all, the empire that Grandpa had painstakingly built out of consideration for the family business. I kindly reminded her, "It's best to conduct a sample test on the equipment the group plans to use before making a large purchase. TSK, as if I don't know that. Stop pretending to be the good person. You're just jealous of me. Jealous that I've developed the group more smoothly and successfully than you ever imagined." She went even further, saying, "You only know how to spend money recklessly all day. Be careful not to develop a habit that will ruin our family. It would be better to hand the money over to Mom and Dad for safekeeping. If it were me, I would have handed it all over long ago." Her words were filled with hypocrisy and cunning. I remember in my past life, when my sister got her hands on that 10 billion, she didn't hand the money over to Mom and Dad for safekeeping as she now claims. On the contrary, as soon as she got the money, she immediately flew to the Maldives and enjoyed a luxurious life for half a year. For her, life on the island was an endless carnival, always surrounded by young, handsome, and obedient little fresh meat. This extravagant lifestyle eventually raised concerns from our parents, who decided to intervene. When our parents offered to manage her remaining funds, my sister actually accused me of speaking ill of her behind her back. She even accused me of sabotage, claiming I had malicious intentions to take the money she had left, and spread these accusations far and wide. It nearly ruined my reputation. But when my parents heard what my sister had said, they didn't blindly believe her. Instead, they asked for my side of the story. After all, the 10 billion was left to me by my grandfather, not to them. I smiled faintly and said, "Dad, Mom, give me a year. After a year, I'll hand the money over to you to manage." My parents didn't say anything, but my younger sister expressed her dissatisfaction. "If you only hand it over, after a year, you'll have spent most of it by then. I think our Hartwell family is bound to be ruined by you sooner or later. When you become penniless, My company won't take you in. My parents grew impatient, and only then did my sister slowly stop talking. In my past life, my sister always had it out for me, competing with me in everything, and refusing to give up until she won. From childhood, she always demanded the best, the newest, and the most expensive things. As the older sister, I often think about how to take on more family responsibility so that my parents can worry less. I would give all the good things to her, without holding anything back. However, it seems that even this is far from satisfying her insatiable heart. The vase I carefully saved up to buy was shattered by her. My new clothes were cut into strips the very next day, and even the homework I painstakingly completed was torn to pieces by her. The year of the college entrance exam was even more excessive. I had the potential to become the top scorer in the province. But, because I drank the expired milk she deliberately gave me, I fell ill and ended up only getting into a 985 university. As for her, with the whole family accompanying her for the exam, she barely managed to get into a second-tier university. Yet she still insisted on holding a celebration banquet as if her results had reached the pinnacle of the world. Even when our grandfather made his will, she unhesitatingly chose the 10 billion in cash. As the older sister, I always gave in to her in every way. If she wanted it, then I let her have it, but she only used that money for her own pleasure, spending recklessly in expensive brand name stores, not to mention supporting one handsome young man after another. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed, and she had spent every last cent of that 10 billion. At that time, I had already elevated the Hartwell Group to new heights, achieving remarkable success in the business world, and becoming the youngest billionaire in history. My life also became more colorful as I started dating a top-tier celebrity, the nation's heartthrob, Julian. Rumors spread that he was only with me for money or that I was supporting him financially. But Julian never addressed any of the misunderstandings or rumors about our relationship. Only I knew that, when we first met, he was in dire straits, and his spirit was broken. It was I who reached out and saved him. My sister returned, just as we were about to step into the marriage hall. Yet she came to me for help, claiming she owed 3 billion in usurious loans. The number was staggering. But what was even more shocking was that she had the audacity to ask me to help pay off her debts. Faced with such an absurd request, I didn't hesitate to refuse. As her older sister, I've always been tolerant and caring toward her, but that doesn't mean I would indulge her wrongdoings. However, that very night, the situation took a dramatic turn. The loan sharks came to our doorstep and, without any room for negotiation, publicly exposed my sister's past explicit photos, causing a sensation online. They even broke into our home and live-streamed the humiliation of my sister inside the house. Such extreme and malicious actions completely crossed the legal boundaries. We immediately reported the incident to the police. The police quickly intervened in the investigation and identified several key criminals for pursuit. But when the police confronted the loan shark gang, the situation took a sharp turn. One of the gang members, losing control of his emotions, fired shots at us. The bullets whizzed by, and at this critical moment, my sister actually pulled me in front of her to block the bullets. She still had that same arrogant, hypocritical, and unrepentant demeanor even in this new life. She hasn't changed at all. After the family gathering, I continued to focus on my career. My best friend and I formed a live streaming team and signed several promising, positive influencers as hosts. After persisting for a month, the sales in the live stream room exceeded 100.000 yuan. Although this was only a drop in the bucket compared with our initial investment, it was enough to give us a pleasant surprise. Just as we raised our glasses to celebrate this joy, my sister called on video, seeing me at a roadside barbecue stall. She immediately started her usual mockery. "Sis, you're so tacky. How can you even eat such garbage?" But the next second, she turned her camera, and what came into my view was the national heartthrob, Julian. See, this time I met him first. Soon, the most handsome man in the world will be mine. Just as she was brimming with confidence, Julian suddenly looked in our direction. My sister was so excited she almost jumped up, lowering her voice to say to me, Oh my God, he's walking toward me. I knew it. In my crush's eyes. I'm the most beautiful. Her faint pride was written all over her face, as if she had already claimed Julian as her personal property. However, as Julian approached, he asked, "You're Amelia's sister, right? Could you give me your sister's phone number?" Just then, a news alert suddenly flashed on my phone. Hartwell Group's equipment quality issues lead to sharp stock decline. My sister, who had been so excited about Julian just moments before, suddenly fell silent. Then the video was interrupted by one urgent phone call after another. I believe someone must be going crazy with anxiety right now. Tonight is destined to be anything but ordinary. I finished the drink in my glass and hurried to the party where Julian was. I almost forgot. During this exact period in my previous life, something very important happened. The national heartthrob Julian was drugged at a party and found himself in danger. The scene replayed vividly in my memory. He lay unconscious on the floor, surrounded by men unbuckling their belts, laughing maliciously. By the time I arrived at the party, my sister had already left early, and sure enough, Julian had fallen into the trap. He was nowhere to be seen. Following the memories from my past life, I immediately headed to the hotel. I knocked on the door and shouted that the police were coming. The men inside, with their pants halfway down, grabbed their trousers and fled as soon as they heard the commotion. I then helped the disoriented and confused Julian out of the party. I brought Julian back to the apartment, his brow furrowed in pain. My heart wrestled with the decision, but in the end, I chose to help him. After all, being with me was better than being with several men. Besides, he will be my man sooner or later. Whether we sleep together early or late, it's all the same. Just as I turned around to take a shower, I suddenly felt a tight grip around my waist. "Help me!" His voice was hoarse and deep. Through the dressing mirror, I saw his dark eyes, which sparkled like stars, now filled with helplessness and pity. My heart softened, and I comforted him softly. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." I turned around and kissed his lips and fell into the abyss. With him, the morning sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, casting a glow on Julian's handsome face. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at me, without any dislike or resistance, but with a complex sense of gratitude. He knew that last night he had almost fallen into a trap. If I hadn't shown up and saved him by sacrificing myself, he would have been ruined long ago. "Thank you for saving me," he said in a low, sincere voice. "Don't mention it," I replied casually, waving my hand dismissively. I am well aware that being too good-looking can also become a burden. It was precisely because of his handsome face that Julian accidentally offended a certain big shot in the entertainment industry, leading to his blacklisting and leaving him with nowhere to stand. People outside the industry only see his glamour, unaware that he treads on thin ice every day, where a single misstep could lead to utter ruin. About last night, he hesitated. "Name your price, and I'll do my best to compensate you." "No need." I waved my hand, knowing full well that he didn't have much money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been at that kind of party yesterday, becoming a plaything for the capitalists. But, after a moment of thought, I still said, "If you want compensation, I have an opportunity for you." I handed him a business card. "My company is hiring." Julian took the card, glanced at it, and his eyes lit up with surprise. "You're Amelia, the CEO of Nova Media, which is currently recruiting artists. I heard you're willing to give every artist a chance. I've been secretly blacklisted. Do you still dare to take me on?" I raised an eyebrow. So, the reason he asked my sister for my phone number last night was to seek an opportunity. In my previous life, there was no such good opportunity. Even after I saved him, he remained depressed for a long time. I stayed by his side during that period until he reached the peak again and announced our relationship. Recalling the past, I smiled and said, "Having such an outstanding artist like you join my company is truly an honor." Knowing he couldn't return to his place recently, those troublemakers were still watching him. I left my apartment key with him. "There are groceries in the fridge. You can cook for yourself. I'll be staying at the company for the next few days and won't be back for a while. First, adjust your state, then we'll discuss the contract matters." He looked at me with gratitude, his dark eyes shining. I felt a bit embarrassed under his gaze and quickly found an excuse to slip away. I returned to the company and spent some time reading news about the Hartwell Group. The stock is about to crash, and buyers who once purchased Hartwell's equipment are demanding refunds one after another. The executives at Hartwell's are as anxious as ants on a hot pan. I was about to turn off my phone when my sister called. Her tone was extremely anxious, yet shamelessly entitled. "Cease. How much of your 10 billion is left? Since you can't possibly use it all, why not take it out and help me buy new equipment? I want the best and most expensive, and I want it to appear at my company's doorstep this afternoon if possible. Put down whatever you're doing and go buy the equipment for me. Go now." I really can't understand how she can still be so arrogant, overbearing, and shameless, convinced that I would help her. I said coldly, "I don't have any money." After hanging up the phone, I immediately blocked her. Once, I had also turned to her for help during my most difficult times, but she refused me without hesitation. "Those were left to me by Grandpa, and I need to use them to buy gifts for my new boyfriend." She even said more harshly, "Even if you go bankrupt and have to beg, don't expect to get a single penny from me." From then on, I saw through her completely. During those dark and hopeless days, no one offered any help to meet the client. I chose the most extreme method, camping out at their doorstep for 3 consecutive days. I only ate a bag of bread and didn't even dare drink much water, afraid of missing any chance to interact with the client. Perhaps my perseverance moved them as the client finally signed the contract, and I slowly began to make my way up. Since she chose the company, she should be capable of such persistence and effort in the business world. However, I never expected that my sister would post this matter in the family group chat, exaggerating how I indulged in pleasure and ignored the life and death of the Hartwell family. She hypocritically claimed that she had worked tirelessly for the Hartwell family, but had suffered grievances at my hands. The family group chat immediately exploded. Relatives quickly took sides, accusing me of being heartless and cold-blooded, and demanded that I return the 10 billion inheritance to the Hartwell family. Without the Hartwell Group, you're nothing but trash. As an older sister, you're so selfish and self-centered, it's like your conscience has been eaten by a dog. Similar comments like these flooded the entire group chat. Somehow, it spread online, and the rumors even changed in nature. Netizens scolded me for being shameless, not only taking my sister's 10 billion to live a life of luxury and pleasure, but also disregarding her well-being. Relatives demanded that my parents kick me out of the Hartwell family, feeling ashamed to have a daughter like me in the Hartwell clan. Accusations and rumors came pouring in from all directions. My sister even hypocritically stepped forward to defend me. "Everyone, please don't blame my sister. She must have her own difficulties. As long as my sister is happy every day, it doesn't matter if I suffer a little." The entire internet exploded, with everyone encouraging and comforting her, while I was met with nothing but insults and disdain. Just like that, I became the target of public criticism. Every time I go out, I get pelted with rotten vegetables and eggs. At the company, the employees look at me with suspicion, and some have even resigned. My parents also sent me a message, suggesting I go abroad to avoid the situation. My best friend asked me, with concern, "Do you need to do some PR? I've already found someone." Even Julian sent me a message, asking if I wanted him to post something to clarify that I'm not that kind of person. At this moment, my sister called me again. "How does it feel to be doxxed and cyberbullied? After daring me? Cease. As long as you give me the remaining inheritance you haven't used, and help me cover the losses from those devices, I'll sincerely help you clear your name. Otherwise, you can just stay blacklisted forever." You see, she clearly knows how to help me clear my name, but she deliberately guides public opinion, making me look worse and worse. I sneered. "Vivian, do you really think I have no way to clear my name? Don't forget, I reminded you to test that batch of equipment. It was your arrogance and stubbornness, insisting on opposing me, that led to you being deceived. You're not thinking of checking the surveillance footage, are you? Haha. She laughed triumphantly, her voice dripping. With schadenfreude, she said. So sorry, but I've already had someone hack the surveillance system. You have no evidence now. I looked at the surveillance USB drive in my hand, the data already restored, and curled my lips into a smile. Is that so? Don't forget, I majored in computer science in college. Restoring the data is just a matter of time. I've let you have your fun for a few days. Now it's my turn. I directly posted the compiled surveillance footage on social media, along with the inheritance transfer agreement and my financial transaction records. Of the $10 billion, I invested $3 billion, allocated another $700 million to the business, donated $500 million to charity, and placed $200 million in a fixed-term account. The surveillance footage clearly shows that I reminded her to pay attention to the safety of the equipment, and it also shows her accusations and disregard toward me. Stop pretending to be a saint. You're just jealous of me. Why should I listen to you? And get tested? I won't do it. I want to trust him. Trust that my judgment is not wrong. Netizens immediately understood. After reading it, and the direction of public opinion began to gradually shift. The family group suddenly fell silent, and a few relatives even sent me messages to apologize. I sneered and blocked them all. All the accusations that were once directed at me began to turn toward my sister. I opened the home surveillance and saw my sister causing a scene at home. Is she insane? $500 million. How could she donate it to charity? That's our Hartwell family's money. She'd rather give to charity than help me. She's doing this on purpose. Dad, Mom, my sister is lying to you. She says she'll hand over the $1 billion to you in a year. But she's a fraud. She's squandering all our family's money. She's a liar. My parents are both feeling a headache. Don't even mention your sister. You made this mess yourself, so you figure out how to fix it. Doing charity is a good thing. You shouldn't speak about your sister like that. You'd better think of a way to make up for the company's losses. I turned off the surveillance and felt great. A few days later, my sister sent me a message. Since you're pushing me so hard, don't blame me for being ruthless. I was a bit curious. What kind of trick was she planning to pull this time? 3 days later, a news notification popped up on my phone. Hartwell Group and Blackwood Enterprises announced marriage alliance. In the accompanying photo, my sister stood beside Mr. Blackwood in an extravagant gown, tightly holding his arm as if she had captured a trophy. The Blackwood name is also a prominent one in the business world. I raised an eyebrow. My sister had chosen the right pawn this time. Although the Blackwood family heir was old and unattractive, this marriage alliance would be enough to stabilize the faltering Hartwell Group once again. Thinking back to my previous life, I had also considered using marriage to solve the company's crisis. But, after investigating, I learned that Mr. Blackwood had 2 young and beautiful wives, who died, both of whom were killed by his domestic violence. Now, he is 40 years old, a full 20 years older than my sister. I still reminded my sister, although the marriage alliance can solve the current crisis of the Hartwell family, you need to learn more about that man, and it's best to avoid being alone with him. Unexpectedly, she replied quickly, Ugh, you just can't stand to see me doing well. Now that you see I'm about to turn my life around and become Mrs. Blackwood, you're getting jealous, aren't you? So petty. I rolled my eyes. After all, it wouldn't be me who got beaten to death. Although the Hartwell Group managed to turn things around through the marriage alliance, I knew it was only temporary. For a business to stand the test of time, it must continuously attract new customers and explore new markets, rather than relying solely on a one-time marriage collaboration. Unfortunately, it seemed my sister hadn't realized this yet. She began to frequent various expensive venues, squandering her meager savings, just as she had before her rebirth. After all, habits formed over a lifetime are hard to change even in this new life. When it comes to money, she remains the same extravagant and insatiable person. That day, my best friend came to me with a worried expression, complaining that the company's revenue growth was frustratingly slow, and the key issue was the lack of talented streamers who could drive traffic. She said helplessly, I've already done my best to sign all the available artists. Is our company really going to stagnate here? Listening to her words, a sudden idea flashed in my mind. Julian, without thinking too much, I grabbed the contract and hurried home. But as I approached the door, my heart began to race. The shy scene from that night involuntarily surfaced in my mind. We were so close. His cool breath filled my entire being. My cheeks instantly flushed with a burning heat. Just as I mustered the courage to knock, the door unexpectedly opened. Julian appeared at the doorway holding a bag of trash, and we stared at each other, both frozen in surprise. His collar was slightly open, his sexy collarbone faintly visible. I could almost recall the sensation of kissing there, and my face flushed even more. You're back, he said softly. I'm just going to take out the trash. With that, he brushed past me, walking into the room. It felt as if I had returned to the days when we lived together. The room, which had been a mess because of my disorganization, was now neat and tidy. Julian was still the same as before, a thoughtful man who knew how to live well. Just as I was thinking this, he hurried back. Seeing me standing in the living room looking around, he quickly turned on the air conditioner and poured me a glass of warm water, placing it by my side. For a moment, it felt as though I had become the guest, and he had become the master of this home. He quickly explained, I noticed your face is very red, so you must be feeling quite hot. Right. Drinking some warm water might help you feel better. It would have been better if he hadn't explained. However, under the gaze of those deep, lake-like clear eyes, my heartbeat still couldn't help but quicken. I quickly took the contract out of my bag and asked, Have you made up your mind? He picked up the contract, glanced at it, and promptly signed his name. Thank you for taking me in these past few days. I truly had nowhere else to go, and I am grateful for this opportunity. His eyes were shining, clearly in a much better state than the last time. I encourage you, remember, there is no obstacle in this world that cannot be overcome as long as you move forward bravely. You will find the bright path that belongs to you. Thank you, he said, with even more sincerity in his tone. I couldn't help but laugh. On TV, you seem quite aloof. I didn't expect you to be so fond of saying thank you in private. He suddenly blushed. Beneath his fair and clean appearance, the hidden shyness made him look exceptionally adorable. I was stunned. We stared at each other quietly, a subtly yet awkward atmosphere hanging in the air. Suddenly, as if we both realized something at the same time, our cheeks flushed red. Julian quickly broke the tension, getting up and heading toward the kitchen. I'll go cook. No need. I have work to attend to at the company. I quickly made an excuse, grabbed my bag, and fled in a panic. It wasn't until I reached downstairs that I realized, this is my apartment. How did it suddenly feel like it had become his territory? Oh, well, he's going through a rough patch in his career right now, so I'll just let him stay for the time being. The next morning, I brought the contract to my best friend and asked her to assign some hosting tasks to Julian and help him establish a new persona. As soon as my best friend opened the contract, she jumped up from her chair in shock, spilling her coffee all over the floor. Oh my God, National Heartthrob Julian. I'm not seeing things. How did you manage to sign him? Julian is the male idol she has been a fan of for 5 years in her previous life. When Julian revealed that he was dating me, she was the first to rush over and demand that I tell her every detail of our love story, leaving nothing out. But I didn't tell her that Julian was already living in my house. If she finds out, she'll definitely go climb through the window immediately. Julian will be coming to work soon. As soon as he arrived at the company, the atmosphere in the entire studio changed. His naturally aloof demeanor made people hesitant to approach him, yet impossible to ignore. There's no need to build up any other persona for him sitting there. He was like a male god detached from the world, capturing everyone's attention in the live stream. With Julian's participation, the number of viewers skyrocketed, quickly reaching an all-time high. Fans went wild, with gifts, comments, and shares. The entire live stream instantly became a stage exclusively for Julian. After the live stream ended, I saw my sisters post on my social media feed. She said she spent $1 million on the National Heartthrob, and she topped the leaderboard in the live stream. The funny thing is, she also mentioned that the Heartthrob asked for her address and would send her a special gift, which she said she was really looking forward to. I raised an eyebrow and glanced at the pile of figurines stacked in the corner. This was the usual routine after every live stream for the top supporters. In fact, it wasn't the streamer herself who asked for the address. It was just the staff following standard procedure. The purpose was simply to appease the fans, who had spent a fortune on gifts, to calm their restless hearts and make them feel that their money wasn't wasted. I picked the most inconspicuous figurine from the pile and handed it to the staff. I reminded them, Vivian already has a fiancé, so even when sending gifts, we need to be mindful of the implications. Afterwards, I liked that WeChat moment, very grateful that my sister gave me so much money for free. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. Just 3 days after Julian started streaming, we received a ban notice. The reason was that he had been secretly blacklisted and prohibited from appearing on any public platform. I immediately went to find Julian and saw him sitting in the darkest corner, his face so pale it seemed as if it would shatter at the slightest touch. I stood not far away, my heart aching. With waves of sorrow, my best friend came over, her brow furrowed tightly. Such a handsome and talented actor. How could he be banned? It's just too inhumane. After my friend was called away by a colleague, Julian walked over to me. I'm of no use anymore, he said dejectedly. Just fire me. I asked him, are you giving up so easily? He fell silent, but from the barely concealed fire in his eyes, I could see the unwillingness deep within his heart. After all, he clearly had both talent and good looks. He had everything one could ask for. He was also willing to work hard, taking on roles and jobs that others looked down on or were unwilling to accept, always charging ahead without complaint. Yet, just because he was too good-looking and refused to let a certain powerful young man take advantage of him, he ended up being blacklisted. It's absolutely absurd. I said before, your sudden rise to fame was half due to your looks and half due to luck. This time, give it your 100% effort to prove yourself. Julian looked up, staring at me with a bewildered expression. Come work behind the scenes. Go work in the charity sector to showcase your contributions and concern for society. As long as you can prove your positive image and value through actions and gain public recognition, I believe you can return to the top. I patted his shoulder to encourage him. Trust me. Give yourself a chance. Julian looked at me, his dark, profound eyes gradually softening. Okay, he finally agreed. Although Julian was blacklisted within the industry, not many people were aware of it. In the eyes of the public, he was still a radiant, widely admired national heartthrob. Since he made an appearance at our company and generated momentum for us, it immediately attracted collaborations with many industry big shots. The number of live streaming rooms is increasing, and the revenue is rising along with it at a surprisingly rapid pace. On the day of the family gathering, after finishing my tasks, I casually picked out an elegant little dress from the collection my best friend had helped me curate, changed into it, and hurried to the villa. As I entered, I ran into my sister. She was still dressed in that exaggerated nouveau riche style, wearing an expensive designer gown, carrying the latest designer handbag, and adorned with a full set of diamond and jade jewelry. She stood in the center of the crowd, looking as triumphant and proud as a victor, surrounded by a group of cousins who obeyed her every word. Her superior attitude was even more pronounced. When she noticed me entering her line of sight, she immediately changed the subject, her tone dripping with sarcasm and disdain. Oh, look, who's here? What a rare guest. So, you still remember to come back? TSK, look at what she's wearing. Could it be from a street stall? Even with so much money, how come she doesn't dare buy any designer brands? She really can't shake off that shabby look. Just as all eyes at the party were focused on us, someone suddenly stepped forward and exclaimed, while pointing at my clothes, "Oh my, isn't this a private custom piece by Master Laurent? It's priceless and impossible to find. How do you have it? All eyes suddenly turned to me. I was completely confused. My sister's face fell, and she glared at me with venomous eyes. The gazes of the surrounding crowd also shifted because of Master Lawrence's work. Do you know? A voice rang out, full of awe. Master Lawrence's works are far more precious than any luxury brand, not to mention their immense collectible value. The implication was clear. My dress far surpassed any expensive gown present at the event. The cousins, who had originally gathered around my sister, now flocked to me, casting looks of admiration, and even envy, set against the backdrop of Master Lawrence's creation. Even the diamond earrings I had bought for a few thousand yuan seemed to be imbued with extraordinary value. In contrast, my sister's flashy and cumbersome outfit appeared particularly out of place under such comparison. Faced with such a starkly different situation, my sister's eyes were filled with unconcealed jealousy. She shouted at me, "You'd rather spend a fortune on such expensive clothes than lend me money to buy equipment. You're so heartless, so vain." I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Lend. In her words, it never meant she intended to pay it back. The expressions of the crowd shifted slightly. I calmly explained, "I didn't purchase this dress. I acquired it at a charity auction. I had no idea it was a creation by Master Laurent. I simply chose it because I thought the style suited me." Upon hearing this, the people around nodded repeatedly, their gazes shifting from initial skepticism to admiration and praise. "So, that's how it is." The discussions around us rose and fell. My sister was so angry that she gritted her teeth and could only turn around and leave in frustration and resentment. I walked into the garden, just wanting to find a place to sit down. My sister came back again with a group of little girls. She held a delicate little teacup figurine in her hands, cradling it like a treasure. The smug voice seemed deliberately aimed at me. "You know what? This is a gift from my crush. If I weren't already engaged, he would have promised me a lifetime. This is the token he gave me." The champagne I had just sipped nearly sprayed out of my mouth. Originally, the meaning behind that teacup figurine was a subtle jab at her for being too fake. As it could hold all kinds of tea, I never expected it to take on a completely different meaning in her mind. I couldn't help but step closer to remind her, "You should still be careful. It's best not to let your fiancé find out. After all, no one wants their fiancé to still be pining for someone else." But who knew my kindness would be met with her sharp retort, "You're just sour grapes, jealous that the crush gave me a teacup and not you. I love whatever my crush gives me. So what? So what?" She even hugged it to her chest, looking as if she cherished it to the extreme, and said, "I plan to put it by my bedside and sleep with it every night." Watching her triumphant expression, I really wanted to tell her that the gift in her hands was actually just the cheapest giveaway from the company. If she found out the truth, she would probably be furious. Right after the banquet, Mr. Blackwood personally came to pick up my sister. As soon as he reached the door, Mr. Blackwood lashed out at my sister. First, he smashed the teacup figurine. Then, he slapped my sister hard across the face. My sister covered her face and turned to rush into our mother's arms. But when she looked up, she saw me standing not far away. Suddenly, she pointed at me and began to accuse me vehemently. "It's all you. You must have told Mr. Blackwood on purpose." The voice was sharp, filled with hatred, "Just because I have a gift from my crush, and you don't. You're jealous of me. How can you be so vicious? You can't stand to see me doing even a little better." Faced with such an absurd accusation, I could only roll my eyes helplessly. How utterly narcissistic. Mom grabbed my agitated sister and said helplessly, "That teacup isn't anything special either. You've been showing enough to everyone." Even Mr. Blackwood, sister sighed. How could Mr. Blackwood not know? "Don't blame your sister for this." Mr. Blackwood had already strode over and pulled my sister out of Mom's arms. He grabbed her by the shoulders, his face dark as he explained why he had hit her. "I love you so much. You hid things from another man behind my back, and even tell so many people that you want to sleep with it. How do you expect me to feel? If this hadn't gotten out, it would have been fine. But now everyone knows. You've made me a laughingstock, At least this slap can help me save a little face. Then he suddenly changed his attitude, hugged my sister, and carefully stroked her cheek like a pitiful little thing. Baby, I'm sorry. I just wanted to put on a show. I didn't really want to hit you. You understand me, right? After all, I love you so much. How could I bear to hit you? If I hit your face, it would hurt my heart. My sister was still coaxed away by Mr. Blackwood despite the marks of being beaten still visible on her face. There was a twisted sense of triumph flickering in her eyes. It was as if she was telling me, with this look, see, even like this, I am still loved. I laughed. This Mr. Blackwood is truly skilled at playing mind games. No wonder his 2 previous wives never even thought of fighting back. Until they were beaten to death. I hope my sister can also endure Mr. Blackwood's perverted love. After that slap, my sister miraculously behaved herself for a long time. As for me, I became increasingly busy. My company brought in countless talented stars, and the number of live streaming rooms also grew exponentially. To ensure product quality, I personally tested and sampled the products and established a dedicated team for long-term testing. Only by putting in genuine effort will customers be willing to pay. It is precisely because of our commitment to quality and innovative spirit that our daily sales repeatedly hit new highs. Within a month, reaching as much as 5 million at its peak, my best friend screamed excitedly over the phone, "You're a damn business prodigy." As my income doubled, my charity projects also grew accordingly. Photos of Julian going to the mountains to support the children suddenly went viral online. He carried a whole box of books and stationery, trudging with difficulty along the muddy and rugged mountain path. His clothes were covered in mud stains, and blisters had formed on his shoulders. This is the male god in our hearts. Our male god is working so hard. Woohoo! Fans were crying all over the comment section. But soon, rumors spread that Julian was doing charity work because he needed to whitewash his reputation after being banned. These words immediately sparked anger among the fan base. They quickly mobilized to uncover the mastermind behind the scenes and seek justice for the national heartthrob. The power of the internet is always astonishing, especially when it is ignited for the sake of justice. Like detectives, the fans swiftly dug up the mastermind behind the scenes and proceeded to dox them. Julian also posted his first post after being banned at this time. Life is not easy. Everyone is fighting for themselves. So am I stumbling along this path? My looks might have given me a good start, but from now on, let me speak. With my skills, these simple words felt like a heavy blow, stirring up waves in the hearts of fans. Even my sister stepped in, and she used Mr. Blackwood's network to directly bring down that influential figure. I'm a bit surprised she finally did something decent, but she quickly sent me a message. This time, I saved Julian. Don't even think about taking advantage of a situation. So she did such a big thing, just to spite me. Too bad she's going to be disappointed. Julian has long been my man. Both the person and the heart are mine. After returning from the mountains, Julian came straight to my office. His starry eyes lit up again as he excitedly showed me the scripts that had been sent to him. During this time, I smiled and asked, "What do you think?" His handsome face was full of determination and resolve. During this time, I've encountered many people in need through my charity work, and I want to continue helping them. I raised an eyebrow slightly. He continued, "But my strength alone is limited. I want to return to the entertainment industry to be a spokesperson for charity and work hard again. I also want to be like CEO Hartwell, using most of my income to help those children." I nodded and smiled with satisfaction. I knew it. Not only is he hardworking and ambitious, but he also has a kind heart. In the future, he will become a rising star in the charity world. In his previous life, after he became a top star again, he donated almost all of his income to charity, eventually becoming widely recognized as a benchmark for philanthropy in the entertainment industry. He gave me all the scripts and asked me to choose for him. I selected a fantasy drama from among them. He left with a solemn promise to me, "CEO Hartwell, believe me, I will set a great example for our Nova Media. At the very least, I will not let you down." His deep, dark eyes gave me a lingering look. I knew, just like in my previous life, that, after pulling him out of the mud and guiding him toward the light, he would look back at me and still feel moved by me. I was in a great mood. So, when I saw the team-building party proposal that had been delayed for over half a month, I approved it right away. It's time to let the employees relax and unwind. After Julian returned to the entertainment industry, Nova Media gained immense popularity and quickly became a trending topic across the internet. Capitalists have been extending olive branches, eager to collaborate with Nova Media. The most dramatic twist was when my sister also sent a letter of intent for collaboration to my company's email. She spoke softly, without the usual arrogance and pride, with an uncharacteristically humble and polite attitude. Dear CEO of Nova Media, I hope this message finds you well. Would you consider collaborating with our Hartwell Group for our new product line? I almost burst out laughing. If I told her that Nova Media was founded by me, she would probably go crazy with anger, right? But I chose to remain silent. I filtered through a few collaboration projects in my inbox and scheduled meetings with the relevant company executives to discuss intentions. My sister keeps sending collaboration projects to my email. I can't even be bothered to look at her name and just reject them all with one click. But she still wouldn't give up and actually showed up at the company's annual team-building cocktail party, clearly hoping to get lucky. When she saw me, her eyes were full of disdain and contempt. What are you doing here? She sneered at me with a cold laugh. You must be here for the national heartthrob, right? What a pity. He's no longer someone you can like. Just then, Julian happened to pass by holding a champagne glass, with a group of young girls eagerly clamoring for his autograph behind him. My younger sister immediately rushed over to join them. Julian glanced at me first, thinking that my sister and I were just ordinary siblings. He stopped, bypassed the crowd of young girls, and handed her an autographed photo. My sister immediately screamed, with excitement on the spot. She came back with the signed photo and proudly boasted to me, "See, Cease. My crush definitely has feelings for me. Otherwise, why would he hand the signed photo directly to me, bypassing so many other beauties?" Then she warned me, "I advise you to stop daydreaming. In this lifetime, my crush would never fall for a woman like you." She also pretentiously adjusted her collar and said, with full confidence, "Later, I'm going to discuss a collaboration with the CEO of Nova Media. You'd better get as far away as possible. I don't want the CEO to know I have a sister as unrefined as you." No matter what she said, I just smiled faintly. At this point, I couldn't help but remind her, if you want to discuss cooperation, you first need to meet the CEO of Apex Holdings. Otherwise, if the deal falls through and you don't even get to see the person, that would be quite embarrassing. My sister sneered it arrogantly. "Do you think I'm as incompetent as you? I'll be meeting the CEO soon. Once this cooperation is successful, the Hartwell Group will soar to new heights. And you, even if you rode a rocket, you wouldn't be able to catch up with me." I nodded, with a smile. "Well then, I wish you all the best." Julian finished dealing with his little fans and strode over to us with his long legs. My sister's eyes immediately glued to him again. My idol is walking towards me. Oh my God, my idol is so incredibly handsome tonight. What a pity. The male idol only has eyes for me. Some people can be jealous all they want, but it's useless. I rolled my eyes in exasperation. Before Julian could get closer, my sister eagerly rushed up to him. She kept trying to start conversations with him, asked for a photo to remember the moment, and occasionally glanced at me with a provocative and triumphant look. It wasn't until Julian said he had other matters to attend to that my sister finally let him go. She quickly ran back to show me a post she had just made on her social media feed along with a photo of her and Julian. There was a caption, "My crush really has great taste, only choosing the best girl." In just a few minutes, it had already received a ton of likes. I was completely shocked. So blatant. "Aren't you afraid of Mr. Blackwood's fist at all?" She thought I was envious and was about to mock me when Julian's voice sounded above our heads. CEO Hartwell. Can we have a drink? Great, my sister answered quickly, her face flushed with excitement as she swiftly picked up the champagne glass. Julian looked embarrassed and said, I am sorry. I meant I wanted to have a drink. With your sister? My sister's expression instantly froze. Julian, unaware of our strained relationship, looked at me with a questioning gaze. I gave him a look that said, figure it out yourself. My sister finally realized that not only had we known each other for a long time, but our relationship was already far from ordinary. She suddenly understood that everything she had just said was nothing more than a ridiculous performance in my eyes. She was so furious that she immediately threw her champagne at me. Amelia, you bitch. You lied to me, she screamed sharply. It was you who seduced the national heartthrob. He clearly fell for me first. Julian immediately took off his coat and draped it over me, his face darkening as he called for security. Get this lunatic out of here. My sister looked incredulous and questioned sharply. Julian, I was the one who helped you bring down the powerful people who blacklisted you. Don't you know that? You clearly fell for me. Because of that, why won't you admit it? Julian frowned deeply. I appreciate you helping me get revenge, but you can't insult your sister. Because of that, it's only out of respect for your sister that I've been tolerating your pestering again and again. How could you even spread rumors that I like you? Security quickly arrived and restrained my sister, who seemed to have lost her mind. As if provoked, she retorted loudly, Impossible. Julian, how could you not like me? I was the one who helped you first. Watching her being dragged away by security, I let out a cold laugh. In my previous life, after Julian and I got engaged, my sister kept asking about our love story. I felt annoyed, so I gave her a brief account. I told her that I had helped him once, when he was blacklisted, and that made him fall in love with me. She naively believed that just a simple act of help was enough to win Julian's heart. She was wrong, terribly wrong. Julian is a very responsible and dependable man. Ever since I saved him at the cocktail party, he has always felt indebted to me. After that, I helped him make a comeback in the entertainment industry and rise to the top as a superstar. I was the one who constantly encouraged and supported him. From the initial sense of guilt, he gradually became unable to live without me until his heart was completely filled with me. This was something I worked hard to achieve step by step. It wasn't something she could obtain with just a single simple move. She is truly foolish and naive. Seeing me keep my head down, without saying a word, Julian said, with concern, I'm sorry. I didn't know you two didn't get along well. I'll find another way to repay her for helping me, and I won't put you in an awkward position. Let me take you to the lounge to change your clothes first. Shall I? He put his arm around my shoulder and left, not at all afraid of any rumors being spread. My best friend noticed something and gave me a knowing, motherly smile. She immediately ordered those who had taken photos secretly to delete all the pictures. Anyone who dares to leak even a bit of this will be going against Nova Media. I changed my clothes and then left the party. I did not attend the cocktail party in my capacity as CEO of Nova Media. After all, Nova Media had grown too quickly, and especially since the CEO is a woman, it's easy to become a target of schemes. Only by maintaining an air of mystery can we continuously attract new customers and secure a place in the market. Early in the morning, I received an anxious phone call from my parents. Come to the hospital, quickly. Your sister has been hospitalized. On the way to the hospital, I first got a grasp of the whole story. It turned out that my sister had repeatedly asked Mr. Blackwood for money and had even reached into the finance department of the Blackwood Group, embezzling a huge sum of funds. Not only did she use this money to buy many luxury items, but she also spent most of it on the national heartthrob. The most outrageous thing is, she even posted on her moments yesterday to show off. Coincidentally, Mr. Blackwood saw it again. While he was drunk, in a moment of impulse, he lost control of his emotions and accidentally injured her. I can only say, every bully has their match. I rushed to the hospital and saw Mr. Blackwood kneeling by the hospital bed. his face full of remorse as he begged my sister for forgiveness. "I'm sorry, darling. I truly love you so much. I was afraid of losing you, which is why I accidentally hurt you. I'm sorry. I promise it won't happen again. Please forgive me. Okay." As I reached the door, I happened to see my sister's attitude softening as she reached out her hand to Mr. Blackwood. But when she saw me, her eyes were filled only with shame, anger, and resentment. "It's all because of you," she screamed at me. "If it weren't for the fact that you liked him, why would I have wanted to take away the person you loved? Get out! Get out of here!" She waved her arms forcefully, as if trying to push all the blame onto me. I just find it absurd and ridiculous. Just because I like it, you have to take it away. Take it away, without considering the consequences, and then turn around and blame me. This is absolutely outrageous. Today, I'm going to completely tear off her hypocritical mask and let everyone see just how shameless she is. Since we were kids, anything I liked, you would go to any lengths to take it away. The new clothes Mom and Dad bought for me, as soon as you saw them and liked them, you would immediately put them on. The teddy bear Mom and Dad bought for me, if you liked it, you could just take it into your room. Even the certificate of honor I worked so hard to earn could be snatched by you to claim credit and ask Mom and Dad to buy you designer bags and clothes. It's as if in this world, as long as you like something, everything I have must become yours, just because I'm the older sister and you're the younger sister. Yes, she didn't even try to hide her insatiable nature, shouting at me, "Exactly, because I'm the younger sister, so you should unconditionally give in to me. Whatever you like, you have to give it to me first." Mom and Dad walked in from outside, their faces full of disbelief. They might have finally realized that it wasn't because I didn't like many things that I gave them to my sister. But if my sister likes it, then I don't like it anymore. As soon as my sister saw them, she immediately put on a pitiful expression and started crying. Actually, it was Julian who approached me first. I didn't steal him from my sister. She just misunderstood me. She then pretended to be the victim again, saying, "My whole body hurts so much. I feel terrible. Dad, Mom, I'm in so much pain." My parents stood still, probably pondering the authenticity of her appearance. Mr. Blackwood nervously called for the doctor, holding my sister in his arms as if she were a treasure. My sister also tightly clutched Mr. Blackwood's clothes, clearly having forgiven his mistake. I sneered at them, thinking how wonderful it would be if they stayed locked together forever. I returned to the company and continued to bury myself in work. My best friend leaned in mysteriously, seeing how excited and thrilled she was. I thought the company's sales had broken records again. Instead, she questioned me. "Tell me, when did you and the National Heartthrob start?" I lowered my head and continued reading the document. "I don't understand what you're saying." "Oh, still keeping it from me? Others might not notice, but I can tell the way you look at him is different. Clearly, you see him as one of your own. He is part of our company, so he is one of us. That's not the same. Ethan is also part of our company, but the way you look at him isn't like that." I looked up at her, also curious about how others perceive the way I looked at Julian. She finally thought of a word and said emphatically, "Flirtatious. Yes, the way you look at him is so flirtatious. It's that confident kind of flirtatiousness, as if he's already your man." I coughed lightly and pushed her away. "You're overthinking it. Hey, you're feeling guilty." I changed the subject, picked up a document, and asked her, "How did the Hartwell Group's collaboration proposal end up here?" She picked it up, glanced at it, and immediately got angry. "Hey, the assistant must have taken a bribe from them. Don't worry, I'll go settle this with them." After taking 2 steps, she turned back and asked me, "I heard your sister was beaten up by her fiancé and ended up in the hospital. Is that true?" "Yeah, it's true." "Damn, that's so explosive. She totally deserves it. Someone who treats her own sister so disrespectfully deserves to end up with such a trashy partner." My best friend knows quite a bit about the relationship between my sister and me. She has always felt indignant on my behalf, but since it's my family matter, she only vents, with a few words, and hasn't dared to actually intervene. Hearing her say that lifted my spirits as well. You've always wanted to try the biggest seafood buffet in the city center. Right. I'll treat you. After work today, my best friend jumped up excitedly. Wow. I knew you were the best. As she was leaving, she held the door and said to me, with a mischievous grin, "Don't worry. I'll invite your crush for you." I picked up the Hartwell Group document and threw it toward the door. She immediately closed the door and hid away quickly. During these days, my sister has been in the hospital, and Mr. Blackwood goes to the hospital twice every day. He is truly deeply in love with her, as if it's not at all apparent that he once loved his two exes just as much. I often see my sister showing off her relationship on social media. Mr. Blackwood bought her limited edition bags. Mr. Blackwood, despite his busy schedule, still personally made her a bento box. With love, Mr. Blackwood peeled fruit for her, and even cut it into creative shapes to feed her. It seemed as if Mr. Blackwood truly loved her to the extreme. Wrapped in this happiness and love, she almost forgot how she ended up in the hospital. I couldn't be bothered to look at her cheesy social media posts, so I just blocked her. Last time I blocked her, my parents found out and made me unblock her. They said, "After all, we are sisters, and there's no need to make things so awkward." But they truly underestimated the extent of my sister's shamelessness and troublemaking. At noon that day, Ethan rushed in from outside, his face filled with shock and gossip. "CEO Hartwell, you absolutely can't imagine. It's explosive news. The Hartwell Group's funding chain has broken. The board of directors is going crazy right now." I raised an eyebrow. The crisis lurking within the Hartwell family had finally erupted. It happened half a year earlier than I had anticipated. I suspect it was all thanks to my brilliant and outstanding younger sister. Ethan was aware of the relationship between my sister and me, so he knew I was concerned about the rise and fall of the Hartwell Group, but I wouldn't interfere in its affairs. He excitedly shared insider gossip about the Hartwell family with me. Just now, news broke within the Hartwell Group that their cash flow suddenly stopped. The most absurd part is that the board demanded that Vivian, the president of the Hartwell Group, provide funds to solve the problem, and she actually couldn't come up with the money. Even more outrageous is that Mr. Blackwood had recently invested a large sum of money into the Hartwell Group, and it all vanished without a trace. The board of directors was completely up in arms, demanding a thorough investigation. Vivian had intended to stop it, saying she could find a way to resolve the issue. But who knew a guy from the tech department acted too quickly and uncovered everything. All that money had actually been embezzled by Vivian to buy designer clothes, luxury bags, and other high-end goods, outwardly glamorous, high and mighty, and full of herself, yet hiding such a terrifying spending desire. It's truly eye-opening. And there's more. There's more. Ethan hadn't even finished speaking before he started laughing himself. That's not all. She still has a $3 million debt at the mall, and the creditors have even come to the company to demand payment. Haha, it really is far more outrageous than I imagined. This sister of mine always manages to do things beyond my imagination. I asked Ethan to keep an eye on the Hartwell family. The subsequent development of the Hartwell family was also within my expectations. The anger and disappointment of the board of directors intertwined into a terrifying vortex, wreaking havoc within the company. Several senior members directly proposed to withdraw their shares. Even if they withdrew their shares, the group did not have sufficient dividends to give them. This is nothing short of a disaster for a listed company. News reports began to surface about the disintegration of Hartwell Group's top management, with shareholders panic selling and the stock market plummeting in response. And I, as a mysterious buyer, bought up all those shares that were sold at low prices. Hartwell Group clearly had limitless potential, but under my sister's leadership, it suffered one crushing defeat after another. I saw in the surveillance footage that my sister had gone back to throw another tantrum. My parents have their own assets to manage, and were probably already fed up with my sister's endless demands. So, they flew abroad early on, when my sister returned home, and realized that even our parents were no longer paying attention to her. She got so angry that she smashed an entire living room full of blue and white porcelain. It's just a minor crisis, and you're running away faster than anyone. I am a future billionaire. If you don't help me now, you'll all be unworthy of me later. Mrs. Evans from home called me. Mississippi, the second young lady's mental state seems a bit off. It was almost as if they were saying she has delusions of grandeur. If she can't even handle a small group, how does she expect to become a billionaire? It's pure fantasy. I said, don't worry about her. Mrs. Evans, you'll have to take care of the house. Not a problem. Not a problem. Mississippi, you better not come back for a while, either. The second young lady has been asking around about you everywhere. I think she owes a lot of money, and doesn't dare tell Mr. Blackwood. If she finds you, she'll definitely try to get you to help pay it back. She won't find me for now. All right. That's good. I saw on the surveillance that as soon as Mrs. Evans hung up the phone, my sister asked her if she had contacted me. Mrs. Evans immediately shook her head. My sister angrily kicked the nearby potted plant again. She started looking for me in various ways and contacted all of our mutual friends. Those who are close to me know about our strained relationship, know my current worth, and certainly wouldn't tell her that I'm sitting in this unfinished building signing deals worth hundreds of millions. And those who aren't close to me basically wouldn't know my situation either. Unable to find me, she once again resorted to spreading rumors in the family group, playing the victim. Unfortunately for her, after the last incident, no one is buying it this time. The overdue payment from the mall had already been impatiently delivered to Mr. Blackwood. As expected, my sister was beaten again. The reason was that she had once again embarrassed Mr. Blackwood. What I didn't expect was that, before the bruises on my sister's face had even faded, she chose to forgive him again, swayed by Mr. Blackwood's sweet words. Moreover, the two announced their marriage and quickly obtained their marriage certificate, although the Hartwell Group managed to survive the crisis once again. It never regained its former glory. It went from a listed corporation to a small group on the verge of bankruptcy at any moment. One after another, the company's key employees left, utterly disappointed with the group's leadership. Even 45% of the company's shares have fallen into my hands. Yet, none of this made my sister realize the danger. She remained arrogant and conceited with an inexplicable confidence, still firmly believing that she would become a billionaire in the future. She told Mr. Blackwood, "When I become a billionaire, I will repay you double or even 10 times the money you invested in the Hartwell family." Mr. Blackwood actually believes it. Even though the Hartwell Group has now become a bottomless pit, he's still pouring money into it. Go ahead, pour it in. If you don't pour it in, how would you know how deep this pit really is? My company is steadily improving, with daily sales always exceeding my expectations. My best friend's screams often echo in my ears. Holy hell, Amelia, you're so damn amazing. Amelia, you're about to get rich. Damn. CEO Hartwell, you made it onto our city's rich list in less than 2 years. My total assets reached billions. I patted my best friend on the shoulder and said, "It's not just me who's about to get rich. We're going to get rich together." In my previous life, she also turned her investment of $2 million into tens of millions in just a few years. Moreover, my investment was hundreds of times larger than hers. This is just the beginning. There will only be more in the future. I said to her seriously, "Don't celebrate too early." But she looked shocked and asked, "You're not thinking of quitting, are you? Or has this opportunity already passed?" I smiled and said, "There will be hundreds, even thousands of billions in the future. Save your excitement for then." She patted her chest and rolled her eyes at me. "You scared me. I thought you were going back your Hartwell Group. With your business genius, wherever you go, I'll follow." It's no wonder she had such concerns. Hartwell Group is now on the brink of bankruptcy at any moment, and I have secretly acquired the majority of its shares, clearly intending to save Hartwell Group. After all, Hartwell Group was Grandpa's life's work, and I certainly won't let it go bankrupt. However, Saving Hartwell Group is not the right time yet. Mr. Blackwood is still pouring money into his sister's venture. When he can no longer afford to do so, I will completely acquire Hartwell Corp to make Hartwell Corp my private enterprise. My father's 60th birthday is approaching. Since he and my mother frequently travel domestically and internationally, which is quite exhausting, I bought an island worth $1 billion in the sea near their property. On the day of the birthday banquet, as soon as I arrived at the venue, my sister turned her criticism toward me. "Sis, didn't you say you were going to hand over those $1 billion to Mom and Dad for safekeeping? It's been almost 2 years now. Where's the money?" "I knew you were. Just talking big. Don't think doing a little charity can cover it up. You must have spent all that money using it to feed your vanity." "Right." In an instant, everyone in the room turned their gaze toward me, scrutinizing. I just stood there quietly, ignoring her, but my silence seemed to become her weapon against me. "See," she sneered triumphantly. "My sister has nothing to say. I must have hit the nail on the head. Right, talking about charity on the surface, but who knows how wild she is in private. She must have squandered all those 10 billion and is just using charity to build a good reputation. I have to admire your deceptive tricks. You've managed to fool everyone." A faint smile curled at the corner of my lips. "Unfortunately, I'm going to disappoint you again." I took a document out of my bag and handed it to Dad. "This is the 1 billion. My sister glanced disdainfully and continued to scold me on her own, trying to make up some lie to fool Dad again. "Thinking you can just hand over a document and sweep this matter under the rug. You're being way too naive." Before she could finish her sentence, Dad abruptly stood up from his chair. His face was full of shock and disbelief. Mom leaned over to take a look, then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Oh my God!" This reaction immediately caught everyone's attention. They held their breath, eager to find out what was in the document. My sister also curiously leaned in to take a look and immediately exclaimed, "Impossible! How could this be?" Dad laughed heartily and said to the curious crowd, "My eldest daughter bought me an island worth 1 billion. The entire room gasped in shock. I smiled and said, "Thanks to my charity project, I met someone willing to sell me the island at a 20% discount. I've been there to check it out. The climate is pleasant and very suitable for retirement. This island now officially belongs to Mom and Dad." My sister, however, turned pale, with envy, nearly going mad. With jealousy, she widened her eyes and questioned me. "Where did you get so much money? Weren't you doing charity work? That money of yours must have come from shady sources." Both of my parents looked displeased, even showing signs of annoyance. I smiled and said, "I'm not a fool. How could I not know how to make money with that much capital?" Dad suddenly asked, "Vivian, is that a gift for me in your hand?" The item in my sister's hand was an exquisitely packaged pair of men's cufflinks. In comparison, using cufflinks as a birthday gift seemed both shabby and thoughtless. Startled, my sister instantly hid the gift she was holding behind her back. "Of course not. The gift I gave Dad is definitely more valuable than the one my sister gave, and it also shows more thoughtfulness." She panicked and tried to explain, but still couldn't resist taking a job at me. I feigned surprise and asked, "Wow, so it must be worth over 1 billion. Hurry and show it to everyone." All eyes turned to her at once. Her face turned red with embarrassment. Clearly, she had nothing to offer. Yet, she still insisted on showing off. Dad grew even more displeased. All right, everyone, let's head to the lawn and continue the cocktail party." Mr. Blackwood felt humiliated and only shot a dark glare at my sister, which frightened her so much that her face turned pale. I, on the other hand, was immediately surrounded by the guests. "Miss Hartwell is truly amazing. Miss Hartwell, how did you manage to earn so much money in such a short time? Miss Hartwell, you've already donated 500 million to charity. So, how did you manage to earn back that 500 million inches? Just 1 year." I smiled, without answering. When asked too many times, I would say, "You'll find out when the time comes. Allow me to be mysterious for a moment. I'll blow your minds later." Just then, Julian arrived as well. He was dressed in a custom-tailored suit and elegantly stepped onto the lawn. The breeze lifted his soft strands of hair, and his handsome face appeared exceptionally dazzling under the sunlight. With every gesture, he exudes an irresistible mature charm, and a cold, noble aura, instantly pushing the scene to its climax. A while ago, his new drama had just been released and immediately caused a sensation. With his acting skills, he captivated the audience and won several prestigious awards. His fame once again resonated throughout the entertainment industry. The moment he approached, he became the center of attention. "Julian, the big star, what brings you here?" someone asked excitedly. He smiled and replied, "Miss Hartwell and I are friends. On such an important day, it's only right that I come to visit her father." Everyone was speculating about which Miss Hartwell it could be. Even Mr. Blackwood walked over to Julian with a dark expression. I don't know what Julian said, but everyone turned to look at me. Then Julian also started walking toward me. Seeing me frozen, he tilted his head. "Miss Hartwell, take me to meet your father." I saw my parents looking over, and I immediately blushed, quickly pulling Julian aside to question him. "What are you doing here? Didn't I say we should keep our relationship a secret for now?" Yes, through my best friend's matchmaking. We had been in a secret relationship for half a year. He always wanted to go public, but I kept insisting on keeping it a secret. He said, "We're just friends. Isn't that what you said? Can I come to visit and give a birthday gift?" When a friend's father turned 60, I had no choice. Since he was already here, I could only take him to see my parents. My parents happily chatted with him, subtly probing into our relationship, although he only referred to us as friends. The resentful and helpless glances he shot my way almost indirectly confirmed our relationship. My parents were even happier for a moment, and even asked him to stay and play for a couple of days, specifically mentioning that I would be at home with them during this time. Unexpectedly, Julian immediately nodded in agreement and said, "It just so happens that I have no schedule these few days, and I really hit it off with you, Uncle. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony, and will stay to have some tea and play a few games of chess with you." I helplessly rubbed my forehead and happened to catch my younger sister sitting across from me, staring at me with venomous eyes. When our eyes met, she suddenly flashed a sinister smile, as if she were plotting something again. I was sleeping soundly at night when a noise came from next door. After Julian stayed, Mom intentionally arranged for him to be in the next room. Our beds were separated by just one wall. I turned on the light and listened carefully for sounds from the other side of the wall, but there was nothing. I felt inexplicably uneasy, so I immediately knocked on the door across from me. Mrs. Evans was startled by me and came over to ask, "Mississippi, are you thirsty?" "Too," I said. "Bring me the spare key to this room." Seeing how anxious I was, Mrs. Evans quickly brought the key and casually remarked, "The food was a bit salty tonight." Both the big star, Julian, and the second young lady got up to drink water. "I thought you were thirsty, too, Mississippi." My unease grew stronger, and I immediately opened the door and rushed in. The sound of the door hitting the wall startled Mr. Blackwood, who also lived next door. He came out and asked, "What's going on?" A sudden scream came from inside the room. That voice was most familiar to him. Every time he hit his sister, she would let out this kind of terrified scream. He immediately rushed into the room as well, and I had already dragged my completely naked sister off Julian's bed. With force, Julian's clothes were half removed, and he was completely disoriented. His forehead was covered in blood, almost to the point of disfigurement. It was clear that the sound just now was him desperately banging his head against the wall. When he saw me, he seemed to relax and passed out. I was furious and kicked my sister twice, shouting, "Miss Evans, call an ambulance. Quick, Vivian, you shameless woman. I'm going to beat you to death today. You bitch." Mr. Blackwood strode in, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her out. Vivian screamed in terror, her cries sharp and piercing. "It's not me. It's not me. He seduced me. He seduced me first. Save me. Save me. Sister. Save me. Dad." Mom, save me. Mr. Blackwood dragged her directly into the room and locked the door. From inside came the sound of my sister's agonizing cries and sobs. I felt no sympathy at all. Holding Julian's head, my face was as dark as a thundercloud. If I weren't such a light sleeper, easily awakened by the slightest noise, Julian might have. I didn't dare to think about it. At this moment, I absolutely despise her. I really can't understand why she must go to such lengths to take what is mine. Even when she took what was mine, she still had to destroy it. My parents were also shocked, unable to believe that my sister would do something so shameless. Hearing the increasingly weak screams from inside the room, both parents were struggling with their emotions. Finally, Dad kicked the door open and roared, "Enough! Stop it! Right now! I want to hear Vivian's explanation. Dad, save me! Save me!" A large pool of blood was beneath my sister as she struggled to crawl toward Dad. Dad was frightened and said angrily, How could you do such a foolish thing? That's your brother-in-law. How could you, ugh!" Mom exclaimed. "Oh my God, why is there so much blood?" Mr. Blackwood's face was full of gloom, and the veins on his clenched fists were bulging. The ambulance quickly took both of them away. After the diagnostic report came out, all the evidence was conclusive. Julian was drugged. I also checked the surveillance footage, which showed that Julian went downstairs to get water late last night, and my sister followed him. She told Julian there was no water in the living room, and that she had brought some from the kitchen. Julian never expected that his sister would be so bold as to drug him at home. He took the water and drank it. As soon as he went upstairs, he sensed something was wrong. His sister immediately supported him and led him toward the bedroom. Once inside, she locked the door from the inside. After watching the surveillance footage, their parents' faces turned extremely grim. Mr. Blackwood was filled with rage. If the doctor hadn't come out and said that his sister had lost her 3-month-old baby, he might have rushed in to hit her. Mother was heartbroken. "What kind of thing is this? Vivian is simply foolish. I didn't go to see my sister." After Julian woke up, I took him back to my apartment. Seeing my grim expression, he deliberately teased, "If I accidentally fall for your sister, would you still want me?" I glared at him. "You know very well that I don't get along with her. Why are you even talking to her?" He walked over and hugged me. "All right, it's my fault. I swear, from now on, I won't say a single word to her." But I was still furious. I called my best friend and asked her to proceed with the plan to acquire the Hartwell Group ahead of schedule. She schemed against me time and time again, taking away the ones I loved most. Now, I will make sure she ends up with nothing and becomes the very person she despises the most. My sister woke up 2 days later. When she found out she had lost the baby, she shamelessly blamed it all on me. "It's all her fault. It's all because of her. If she hadn't brought Julian home, how could I have done such a thing? My child is gone." She deliberately called Mr. Blackwood and intentionally had him take my child. She just couldn't stand to see me happy. Couldn't stand to see Mr. Blackwood dote on me. Couldn't stand the fact that I could bear an heir for the Blackwood family. Slap. Dad couldn't take it anymore and slapped my sister. "How dare you speak about your sister like that? You've completely disgraced our Hartwell family. Why can't you reflect on yourself? Vivian, your sister has always taken care of you and been tolerant of you. On the contrary, you've been slandering her and even tried to ruin her relationship with her husband," Mom said disappointedly. My sister glared with bloodshot eyes. "You're all on her side, not mine. How could I have such biased parents? When I become a billionaire, you'll realize who your most outstanding daughter is, and she doesn't even deserve to be my sister." Dad sneered coldly, too disappointed to even respond to those words. Mom sighed. "Vivian, you don't know yet, do you? The Hartwell Group has been acquired by Apex Holdings. Mr. Blackwood helped you handle the aftermath of the Hartwell Group. The shares you sold weren't even enough to pay the employees' salaries. So, Apex Holdings stepped in to cover the shortfall for you. You still owe Nova Media $50 million. And Mr. Blackwood isn't going to help you with that anymore. You'll have to figure it out on your own. Your father and I are getting old and tired. We've decided to retire on the island your sister gave us, and we won't be coming back. If you miss us, you can come visit us on the island. But well, take care of yourself." After saying this, my parents stood up and left. After a long time, the sound of my sister's hysterical screams and the shattering of cups echoed from the hospital room. "No, it can't be. I'm a billionaire of the Hartwell Group. How could I possibly be in debt? I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Mr. Blackwood walked in carrying a lunchbox, and only then did my sister calm down, shrinking into a corner of the bed, her face full of fear. "Stop daydreaming. Eat quickly, and come home with me." "No, I don't want to go back. I want a divorce. I want a divorce." Mr. Blackwood smiled, turned around, and closed the door to the hospital room, locking it. Before long, screams echoed throughout the hallway. But this was the Blackwood family's private hospital, and no one dared to linger at the door. 6 months later, I ran into my sister again at a Hartwell Group cocktail party. Even thick layers of makeup couldn't hide her sunken cheeks. I heard that Mr. Blackwood knocked out her teeth, causing her face to become sunken. She saw me standing with Julian and suddenly rushed toward us, but was quickly stopped by the alert bodyguard. "Mississippi, this is our CEO Hartwell. And Mr. Julian, please do not cause any trouble." "What CEO Hartwell?" "I'm CEO Hartwell." She pointed at me and screamed like a shrew. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to be here?" I smiled and gestured for her to look at the large screen behind her. "Take a look first." She turned around and saw the Forbes list. My profile picture scrolled across the screen and finally stopped at the 10th position. Then, my profile picture jumped again and began introducing my remarkable achievements. The eyes of everyone in the entire venue were fixed on the large screen. "Wow, Amelia is only 30 years old and has already become the richest person in our Riverton. Look, Amelia is actually the mysterious CEO of Nova Media. Oh my God." Hartwell Group was also gradually bought out by Amelia, who eventually acquired and revived it. That's right, just 6 months ago, the Hartwell Group was on the brink of bankruptcy. And now, in less than half a year, it's back among the top 500 companies in the country. Amelia is truly a business prodigy. I heard she has a younger sister, who is the former president of the Hartwell Group. Don't even mention her. What a disaster she was, causing chaos everywhere, and nearly bankrupted the company. I heard that although she is now Mrs. Blackwood from a wealthy family, she doesn't receive any affection from Mr. Blackwood at all. Whenever Mr. Blackwood is unhappy, he takes it out on her, and she has already lost 2 children because of it. TSK, Mr. Blackwood is old and ugly, and he even likes to beat his wife. I don't know what she saw in him. I watched as my sister stared fixedly at the big screen, her entire body frozen like a statue. I said, "Thank you. If you hadn't given up that $1 billion to me, I wouldn't have been able to achieve such great success. My current assets are far greater than those of a billionaire in my previous life." I reminded her again. "Oh, by the way, I've given you half a year of grace. Don't forget to return the $50 million to me." My sister turned around and glared at me with fierce resentment. If looks could kill, I would have been dead hundreds of times over. "I don't believe it. This is fake. How could you possibly be the CEO of Nova Media? How could you be on Forbes? I want to start over. I want to start over." She pulled out a fruit knife from somewhere and charged straight at me. I took a step back, and Julian immediately stepped forward and kicked her away. The bodyguard quickly rushed over and restrained her. Afterward, I heard that she went back and was beaten by Mr. Blackwood again. This time, the beating was quite severe. She was almost killed. I called Mr. Blackwood and told him I could give up the $50 million, but he couldn't kill the person. If the person dies, he'll have to pay me back that $50 million. Sometimes, living is more painful than dying. After that, my sister still tried to get close to me, wanting to restart her life. Unfortunately, Julian protected me so tightly that she couldn't find any opportunity. Every time she tried to kill me, Mr. Blackwood would beat her once. Each time was harsher than the last, and gradually, she didn't dare to provoke me anymore. Julian and I held our wedding on my parents' island. On the wedding day, my sister did not come. I heard she sold several of her old designer bags, but still couldn't afford a plane ticket to this island. Besides, someone accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle can hardly endure living in poverty. Before she could save enough for the ticket, she spent the money on new clothes and counterfeit bags, and so the cycle continued, leaving her poorer and poorer back home, nestled in Julian's arms, and gazing at the endless sea of camellias before us. I casually asked him, "Why do you always protect me so well?" She clearly had so many chances to get close to me, yet not once did she escape your notice. He gently kissed the tip of my nose. "I had a dream where you were pulled by her to block the bullets. I woke up terrified, and in that moment, I felt so heartbroken. So, I silently vowed that I would protect you. I will never let that nightmare repeat itself." After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you like this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.